Welcome to this week's episode of Talk of the Town. My name's Philip Swicegood, and I am back with my good friend and co-host, Dr. Kenneth Harper from Vein Specialist of the South. Hey, if you have questions about your veins, give my friends at Vein Specialist of the South a call, and they'll get you the answers that you deserve. Not only are they good doctors, but they're really good people too. This week, we also want to thank our presenting sponsor, which is Piedmont Macon. Piedmont Macon provides comprehensive quality health care for all of your medical needs. Thanks so much to Piedmont Macon for making a show like this possible. Now, if you're just waking up on Saturday morning, you're drinking that first cup of coffee, and you're wondering, what in the world is Talk of the Town? Here's what you can expect week in and week out. A conversation between me, Dr. Harper, and someone in the community that you need to know about. This week is no exception because we are here today in one of my favorite restaurants. That's right, I said it, one of my favorite restaurants here in Way Wieners, established in 1916, over 100 years old. And we're here with the two guys, Jim and Spiro, who are making it all happen. Guys, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
We're thanks for having
proud
us.
to be here. Thank you.
Jim, I want to start with you. This business is over 100 years, is literally over 100 years old. There are not many, 108 years old, that's right. There are not many businesses that can say that. What do you think is the secret to your success?
Food, quality, service, cleanliness. You know, it's really humbling because New Way has such a cult following,
Right.
and, one of our biggest laughs is when somebody asks us, well, who are your customers? And we tell them, everybody, young, old, it doesn't matter. Everybody loves New.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, how many hot dogs have you sold in 108 years? And I asked Jim, and he said, I'll have to go back and look at the books. Did you come up with a number?
Spirit, did you
Sarah, what do you
calculate?
think?
I remember we quit counting like 20, 25 years ago. We had some menu boards, old Coca-Cola boards, and we had a sign that said over 90 million, and they got to 120 million. So we're probably close to 200, I would say.
That's a lot of hot dogs
Yeah.
and a lot of happiness you've had people too, right? So who named it New Way?
Well, the founder, our great uncle, was
And who was that?
James Malice, Dimitrios Maliotis in Greek. He was an immigrant, came through Ellis Island, spent some time in New York, and came south in 1914.
By railway.
Yeah, by railway, of course. And then, of course, the rage up and down the East Coast was hot dogs. The Coney Island, to be specific, where it started at Coney Island.
Was that a Greek family that started at Coney Island?
No, it was
No.
not. It
Oh,
was not. No. But the Greeks got into it big time. But
And perfected it.
what's been passed down through the years is the explanation for the new is that rather than spell it N-E-W, he said, let's do something different and do something catchy.
right.
So he'd spell it N-U.
Now for
We beat the other chicken place on misspelling words.
Okay.
By
Well,
50
I
years.
know that there are a number of Georgia Tech grads associated with the company. Is that right? Several generations. But who spelled the Wieners that way first? Tell them about that.
Well, that
Because
was a-
Ed Grismore wrote a
Yeah,
book
that
about
was,
that, didn't he?
Yeah, the sign painters back then all did it by hand.
Uh-huh.
And the rumor was that he had a few too many to drink the night before. And while he was doing New Way, he saw the misspelling of New Way.
Yeah.
And then, for some reason, he thought the E was before the I.
So,
And,
so how do we spell it? In New Way.
Weiners. And that's the true spelling.
Okay.
That's how it
Yeah.
should be.
So how many? If you're looking around town, how many restaurants do y'all have right now in
We
Middle
have
Georgia?
8 stores.
8 stores.
8 stores.
5 in Macon, 2 in Warner Robins, and 1 in Fort Valley.
So you're never too far away from a New Way if you live around here, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And you serve food all day long. That's the great thing. We're sitting here in the afternoon and the drive-through is slammed. I mean, there's always people here. I love it.
right, yeah.
But I want to ask you guys, if you had to pick out your favorite menu item, what do you think that would be?
Chili dog all the way.
Chili dog all the way? Is that the only way to get it?
Mustard, onions, and chili. And yeah, we saw a lot of them. And, a lot of people go without the onions. But then a lot of people now, we introduced slaw maybe 25, 30 years ago. So when we introduced the slaw dog, they want slaw on top of the chili too.
Mm.
Or you want a chili cheese dog.
So speaking of that, how much has this menu changed over the years, and what parts of the menu are actually original?
Actually, it's been expanding, and we've tried to kind of standardize it. We love to ask customers, what's your favorite on the menu? Because our menu is so various with all, and some customers say the mega burger, others say the club, but 9 out of 10, it's definitely the chili dog.
Right.
Dr. Harper, how did you get your new way?
Well, I'd probably get the chili dog.
The chili dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, so I was asking friends around the office at Bain Specialist Biomedical, what questions should I ask? And one of them said, tell them that when they moved away out of state, that when they found out they were from Macon, the first thing they asked was about new Way Wieners. So y'all won some awards, like this is one of the top 10 Wiener stores in the country. Tell us about some of those.
Well, it all started, I think, in 1999 when Rick Seaback came for the PBS special, a hot dog program. And he chose 21 hot dog establishments throughout the U.S. And we were the first. And he said the reason we were the first, he said all the letters and responses that he saw on the internet, the most passionate responses were for New Way. So he wanted to know what New Way was all about since he read all those passionate responses.
Now, being a downtown company's practice, we like the Cotton Avenue one, and tell us about.
We did too.
When was that? That was opened 108 years ago. That it was in that location.
That's correct. That was,
And you were there and then it tragically burned. What year was
we
that?
almost made it to 100. It was
Right,
99 years.
99 years and what, 4 months, I think.
So
Tragically, electrical fire.
well, we missed
Totaled the
we missed you
building.
guys being downtown, but we're not too far from New Way Fix if we need it.
That's
You
right.
got one across the river at Bakersfield. So
That's
He
right.
did.
you
That's
go.
right.
a
Yeah.
lot of our downtown customers migrated to that one. So
Correct.
it's been that was good that we had that one.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I ate at the Cotton Avenue one 2 weeks before it burned down.
Oh, wow.
I walked back by and saw that it was gone and could not believe it because it was just such a staple of the downtown community. If you're a
It was
downtown
devastating.
It was.
It really is very tragic.
There's a funny story on that now that you mentioned that about eating there. That store, I think that night closed at either 6 or 7. I forget the closing times. It was probably 7. But a good friend of ours, dear friend, Steve Wilson, he's retired now, but he works part-time anyway. Steve was there at closing. He was on his way to visit his grandkids and his son in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he got about a dozen to go that night. To this day, here we are 9 years after the fire, and Steve still has some of those in his freezer.
Does he really?
He says he'll never get rid of them.
Hey, he could probably auction those for a lot of money or something. We should pitch that for charity. He can have auction the New Way Wieners for a
The
charity.
last remaining all the way from Cotton.
Cotton Avenue. That's right.
Do y'all have a special charity y'all like to support in Macon?
Oh, some variants.
We like to rotate with all of them instead of just pick one. We heavily support the sheriff's department, and help them any way we can.
Right.
But with charities, we kind of take a rotation on that and try to reach out to all of them.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's very important. That's one of the things we encourage our listeners and people watching to know how they can be involved in the community. Now, did y'all have pictures in the Cotton Avenue of famous people that had been there?
I
So
guess the most famous was, we really didn't have any politicians, but we had a couple of signed certificates from governors, but I guess Oprah Winfrey would be the most famous personality.
so what did Oprah order when she came? Or is that
Is
confidential?
that like a HIPAA violation? We've been talking about that.
2 hot dogs all the way, a fry, and a Diet Coke.
Okay.
I
And then
love
she
it.
got
He
a
knew.
3rd hot dog. And then before she left on her jet, she had one of her assistants come by and get another dozen hot dogs on
So-
the trip back up to Chicago.
So these are definitely certified Oprah approved hot dogs.
She loved
Yeah,
it.
remember when WMAZ interviewed her coming out of the
Yes.
auditorium and they said, "What did you like the most about Macon?" And she goes, Oh, well, it's got to be definitely those hot dogs. That way hot dogs.
Dogs in New Way. I love it.
And then we started selling them throughout the whole U.S.
Oh, I bet.
People were calling
Yeah.
left and right.
So can you call and y'all ship?
Yes, we
You
do.
do? Do you-
We ship frozen hot dogs already made. They're deep frozen, 10 degree minus, for 48 hours before we ship them out.
Okay.
Wow.
And then you get them there, just pop them in the microwave, or what do you do when you
Preheat the oven.
preheat them?
Right.
That's the best way, is to preheat the oven and just slide them in for a few minutes.
So you just call or you go online? How do you order? What
Either
people
on
order?
call
Yeah.
or online.
Or you move to Macon, Georgia, and we've got 8 of them here.
Right.
You can
You
just
can
go
have
right
them
around the
every day.
corner, and you don't have to worry about frozen hot dogs.
So our friend Jeff Batcher, we've interviewed him a couple of times. We just did one about RBI baseball program in South Macon, but he refers to Macon as the center of the universe. And I think y'all are one of the reasons we are the center of the universe is New Way Wieners.
That's right, Kim. But it's not only just New Way. We want to do a shout out to our good friends at Fincher's
Yeah.
Barbecue. You've got S&S
S&S Cafeteria.
80-year history.
Right.
Fincher's with an 80-year history.
Right.
You've got the place up on Cotton Avenue. The
H&H.
Yeah.
Even the Rookery now
The
is
Rook.
probably pushing 40 years.
Right.
Yep.
Macon, the heart and soul, the soul of the South, as it's known,
Right.
is really the dining. There's a dining aspect of that.
Right.
There is.
You'd be really, you have to look pretty far and wide to find a city this size that has that kind of history
Right.
with dining.
Right.
That is so
That's
true
true.
because, Macon is always talked about in terms of its music history.
Right.
And we have a fantastic, wonderful, amazing music heritage here. But the food here is unparalleled for for like a town this size, and we're super blessed to have
Absolutely.
that. I was reading an article earlier today in the New York Times that you guys were in. I think it was
Yes.
from the year 2000.
Right.
There's
Yes.
not many people that can say that. You guys have been on WMAZ multiple times. You've been published around the country. If there's someone young that's watching this show and is inspired by the legacy that you guys have here with New Way, what kind of advice do you think you guys would give to a budding entrepreneur that says, "Hey, I want to start a place like New Way, and I want it to be in business 100 years from now, and have the legacy that you guys have set"?
Well, it starts off with the menu. You've got to have good food, period. Once you get past that and you can consistently put out a good product, Jim and I have been blessed to be third generation. And we really haven't changed anything when it comes to the hot dog. We still sell that traditional Coney Island wiener,
Yeah.
which is a beef and pork wiener that's made to be fried on a griddle. The chili sauce, the mustard brand that you use. So what I would tell an entrepreneur is come up with a formula, stick with it, but then beyond that, persistence, hard work and persistence. You got to stick with
And
it.
give up the golf game on
Yeah,
Friday.
that's right.
Got to work all 5 of those days a week, right? Right. That's fantastic. Now, we have a few more questions for you, but first, we have to take a quick word from our sponsor.
As a teacher, I'm on my feet almost all day and enjoy running and hiking in my spare time. Standing in the classroom all day, the fatigue and swelling in my legs became increasingly more painful over time. Compression socks and good work shoes didn't even make a difference. I noticed that a large blue vein developed on my leg, which swelled and became really painful, making it difficult to work or participate in activities I enjoy. I'm glad I sought treatment at VSS before my vein issues progressed and got worse. They saw me quickly and were extremely professional, kind, and welcoming, which made me feel right at home. The staff explained my diagnosis and procedures in easy-to-understand terms and guided me through the entire process, which calmed my nerves. I understand they even have a therapy dog now for people like me. Since the procedure, I have been able to enjoy my life and activities again. It changed everything. If you need vein care, I encourage you to call Vein Specialist of the South today.
Piedmont Macon is proud to be your partner in healthcare, in business and in the community. From our 2 convenient hospitals and ERs, our cardiac program, women's services, and urgent care centers, we provide Middle Georgians with comprehensive care close to home. Our goal is to empower you through great care that's simplified, unified, and easier than ever to access. Our mission is to make a positive difference in every life we touch. We want to be part of your family and your life and to make our community a better place to live.
Now, Jim, you're a Georgia Tech grad, as I understand it. You're both Georgia Tech grads. Okay, then this question is even better. Okay, is this the year that Georgia Tech turns around their football program? I mean, is this it? Is it going to happen?
It is.
It is.
Frankie is the man.
I love it. I love it. Just flat out
And Damon
confident.
Studemeyer is the man for a basketball program. I think he's proven that
Yeah.
we can play with the big guys. We just need a little bit more consistency and
Yeah.
a few more players with.
Right.
I feel good that he will be recruiting
Yeah.
some good talent.
Hopefully.
So we talked a little bit about the book that Ed Grismore wrote about.
Yes.
Tell us the backstory behind that and what kind of response y'all got from that, and what were the messages in that book that resonated with you guys?
Ed is so colorful in his descriptions. We really had the most fun on writing the book with him. Like he would come in and he would say, "Now tell me about your Uncle Gus." And I'm like, "Well, which one, Ed? There's 5 of them. You know, which Gus are you talking about?"
So that list of the lineage of the restaurant. Tell us how many. There's so many family members. There are different names, people married in, and what. Tell us about some of the colorful people going back.
Well, I started, of course, with our great uncle Gus Malice, and then he kept it for about 2 years. And back then, a lot of the immigrants, whether they're Greek, Italian, whatever, they would sell, go back to the old country, maybe come back 5 years later. See, a lot of them left their families in Europe. So, for example, my uncle James Malice did the same thing. He went back to see family. He came back. So George Nikopoulos, Gus Lolos, as Jim said, there were 2 or 3 Gus's. Gus Kakavias. There were so many. It was our uncles that were here before our 2 dads came in.
Yeah.
They were George and Harry Andrews. They came in and they were teenagers.
Right.
But then that, of course, World War II rolled around. They were involved in the business. There was only 1 store on Cotton Avenue. And one was at U.S. Navy, one was U.S. Army. They come back in 1945. Then by 1948, they opened a 2nd store downtown
Wow.
on Cherry Street.
Cherry
Really?
Street.
So for 20
Okay.
years plus, there were 2 new ways downtown. And then our dad-
Each one of them had one, and were they competing against each other?
Sort of.
Yeah. It was
It's like a friendly competition or a little more?
Yes, of
stories that
course.
were passed down to
Yeah.
us. Back then, Macon was the hub. Downtown Macon, shopping, banking.
Yeah.
There were 2 Crystals downtown. There were 2 Macons. There was
S&S.
two S&S cafeterias. I mean,
Yes.
Really?
so
Yes.
it was a very, very competitive environment. Uncle Gus would be down on Cherry Street. Uncle George would be on Cotton Avenue. And let's say one of them ran out of buns, and they say, "Well, call them up and say, can you?" "No, I'm not going to give you any buns." They each made chili sauce. They had the same recipe.
Yes.
But then back in the mid-60s, they consolidated that. Because what happened
Yep.
was they opened the store in South Macon on Houston Avenue. So with 3 stores, they didn't want to make chili in South Macon. So they said, all right, let's agree.
Time to
Let's
consolidate.
make Cotton Avenue the headquarters. And that's
Yeah.
when they get a corporate office on Cotton Avenue. They started franchising, but the chili was always made on Cotton Avenue.
In a 40-gallon steam kettle.
So is there not a secret recipe for the chili?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
And is it the like family secret that is passed on?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
You know, it's humbling that a lot of people try to make our chili,
Yeah.
and we kind of laugh because it's really simple, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's not the ingredients, it's how you make it. It's the timing
Yeah.
of the ingredients that really make it,
Yeah.
you know,
and-
in the order of the ingredients.
Going back probably 50, 60 years ago, we had a couple of managers that went out on their own and tried to replicate it, but they
They
were
were family too, right?
some
Some of them.
kinda.
Yeah, we call them all family.
Well, imitation is a real compliment in a way,
It
right?
is, yes.
It's the ultimate flattery.
Yes, absolutely.
Spirit, let me ask you this. We're in an interesting economic climate right now, and as a small business owner, what are some of the primary challenges that you guys are facing today?
right now, number one, let's say since COVID, mid-COVID till the present, has been inflation.
Mhm.
Inflation is a killer. I mean, it destroys families' budgets.
All right.
It affects the way people eat out, whatever. And then on top of that is your wholesale inflation. You know, we've seen dramatic increases, whether it's due to the COVID exposure or whether it's due to fuel and energy. But that's a big challenge for us.
It's been on both spectrums, food cost and payroll cost,
Mm.
you know, and we're still trying to find our equilibrium, you know, post-COVID.
Yeah.
You know, prices are still not stable.
All right.
Roughly how many people do you think you guys employ?
We're about 120 right now.
130.
Yeah, yeah.
120.
But you look at the total families that all of that touches, and that's a massive footprint here in the community.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got low volume stores that employ 8, 9 employees, and you've got high volume stores that employ 18, 20.
All right.
Wow.
Sometimes I feel like half the people in Macon used to work for New Way, you know, as a
Right.
as a kid, you know, growing up as a
Mhm.
teenager, you know.
Hmm.
So, is there a connection between Greek food and hot dogs?
Well, I mean, if you look at the history, and I think Ed Grissamore pointed that out in the book,
Uh-huh.
there's aspects to the recipe that are a little conducive to, let's say, like Greek chili. But there's no such thing as Greek chili. But years back, generations ago, they referred. I know there was a hot dog stand in Detroit. There was one in the Carolinas, and they called it Greek sauce. But the reason they did that is because the entrepreneurs, the owners, they were Greeks, and but there's really not a, you know, you're not going to go to Greece and find this chili sauce
Right.
being used.
Okay.
The only Greek item in our chili is the Greek whole oregano.
Right. Okay. Cool. So Terry and I, my wife and I, enjoy the Greek festival,
Yeah.
and that's at the Greek Orthodox Church. It brings our community together. They're all across all the spectrums of our community come over there, and there's good food and Greek dancing, and you get to tour the church. I mean, tell us a little bit about the history of that and when it is and what happens over there.
This year it's October 25 through October 27th. It's an annual event. It's gotten pretty big. It gets bigger every year.
But there are no hot dogs at the Greek
No.
festival, are they?
We gotta fix this, you know?
Being asked
They're
that
the Greek
question,
festival.
where are the New Way hot dogs? I'm like, you're in Greek Town now.
It's a great event. I think maybe this will be year 17, I think, coming up. But years ago, the festival chairman said, let's try selling some hot dogs. But you know, people didn't really ask for it.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right, so I want to read you guys some of the slogans that you guys have had over the years, and give me some context and help me understand what's
Sure.
going on here. Okay?
Okay.
I'd go a long way for a new way. What's the story behind that? Where did it come from?
Well, our slogan used to be, I'd go a mile for a New Way, until we got a letter from Camel Reynolds,
R.J.
some
Reynolds,
backup,
tobacco.
saying cease and desist on using that slogan.
Yeah.
So Uncle George was the one that came up with, we'll just say, I'll go a long way for a new way. And that's stuck ever since. And that was probably in the mid
60s,
60s.
64, 65, yeah.
Okay. And so then we also have, let's see, the boy and dog painting and the neon sign. That was in the window. What's the backstory there?
The neon sign was put up in 1937.
Yes.
By Uncle George and Uncle Gus Lullis. And the story behind that is that when Uncle George decided to put up a sign to attract more business, he had to have a hard sell with Gus Lullis, because the sign back then in 1937 cost $500.
Wow.
And
That's a lot of hot dogs.
right.
That's a lot of hot dogs.
10,000 hot dogs just to break even back then. And so
You still
Uncle-
have the original?
yes, we do. Yes. Actually, the one behind us back there is the second version of
Was
it.
that original in the Cotton Avenue store? Did the firemen get
Did
it
it
out
survive?
before it burned down, or how did you?
Well,
how did it
that's
survive
the
that?
third version of
Oh,
it.
okay.
In 19, what was it? For 2008, we did a complete refurbishment of that sign, and it's in a warehouse, and it's in great shape. We just haven't used it
You
yet
didn't
again.
need it yet, right?
That's right.
But getting back to your story, the reason there's a chef on the sign
Correct.
is that Uncle George told Gus, his partner, albeit he was an older partner, out of respect, he says, Gus, that's you up there on the sign. And that's what
And that's when Gus
Yeah.
said, let's
Yeah.
put the sign up.
Gus said,
Let's do it.
No
Yeah.
matter the cost, $500,
Yep.
that's all right, we'll do it.
Deal. All right, last question. The famous flaky ice. Where'd it come from? How long has it been here?
We, back, let's see, when was that? That was 1974, 75. We opened the store on Northside Drive.
Right.
And the Coca-Cola Company, which has been a longtime partner. As a matter of fact, we're the oldest Coca-Cola customer in the state of Georgia.
Wow.
They told us, let's go, they recommended that we do a flaker. And it was made by the Scotsman Company, and the flaker just turned out to be a big hit. And, as they say, the rest is history, because we've been putting flaky ice in ever since. So that's been 50 years almost.
So whenever you're selling hot dogs, do you ever retire? Whenever you're having this much fun, do you ever say, you know what, I think I'm done?
We don't even view it as work. I mean,
Yeah.
we come in to have fun every day.
Yeah.
I mean, there's problems, there's issues, that need to be resolved, but that's just part of the game and part of the fun.
Mhm.
I don't really classify us as working hard. I mean, we spend a lot of hours, but it's all part of having fun. I mean, our enjoyment is really having all the customers satisfied.
Mhm.
That's our main goal. If you're not satisfied, then we don't want your money.
Mhm.
I mean, and that's how we've been taught and raised. And, we almost worship the hot dog because we always are very concerned about the quality, making sure the wieners are right, making sure the chili is right, making sure the buns are steamed properly. It's all part of the equation.
Well, it shows.
Well,
Thank
That-
you.
and thanks to
attention
Georgia
detail,
Tech
right?
for introducing us to calculus to
Yeah.
help us with these dynamics.
That's
We
fantastic.
use it every day.
Guys, thanks so much for joining us. This has been a blast.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
And everybody
Appreciate it.
loves a New Way hot dog. We
Appreciate
love
it.
And thank you guys for watching this week again. But stay tuned because you never know where me and Dr. Harper might show up next.